The verdict is finally in, at long last. The case of the people v. Harvey Weinstein, and the verdict is an acquittal. Well, at least 3 of the 5 charges against him he was acquitted of. And the most serious charges were among those that he was acquitted of, which, by the way, were the ones where there was the most evidence, but we're not worried about that. So at first blush, the verdict has been that he's guilty of 3rd-degree rape and 1st-degree sexual assault. Now, the 3rd-degree rape, that's not going to amount to anything. It happens to be a $5,000 fine and somewhere between 1 and 4 years in lockup, which for him means nothing. But as far as the 1st-degree sexual assault goes, now that one, on the other hand, can carry up to 25 years. But that's going to be largely in the hands of the judge, and Harvey Weinstein has already said that he's going to appeal. His defense team has already said, we're going to appeal this thing. But while some people are popping champagne corks and going, he got convicted of something, what gets left out is he got convicted of the lightest charges, the heaviest charges, which, by the way, were the ones that had the most evidence against him. Well, those were the ones that he got acquitted of. So it's a matter of the light charges, the ones that he has the best chance of fighting, the best chance of getting overturned on appeal. Those are the ones that actually the jury looked and said, okay, we'll ding him with those. The heavy stuff, the stuff that he actually should have been hit with, he got to slip his neck out of the noose. And by the way, for the slow coasts out there, who obviously some of these people who I never hear from under any other circumstances, these individuals, I guess these are the lurkers and trolls, who do most of the time cheerleading against black empowerment. These are the individuals who haven't done anything, have not contributed anything, haven't helped anything, and aren't going to amount to anything. They're sitting there saying, well, he didn't escape all the charges. He did get convicted on 2 of the 5. So, granted it ain't 2 out of 3, but a 2 out of 5 ain't bad. Yeah, the 2 lightest charges. Talk about easily impressed. But these individuals said Harvey Weinstein is in jail. They took him straight to jail. No, actually, he went straight to the hospital after the verdict. That's where he's at right now. So now if I wanted to be like some of these intellectually dishonest individuals who apparently think to themselves too clever by half, then what I could do is I could say, hey, let's look at the facts here. The facts are Harvey Weinstein did not go to jail like you said he was going to. Harvey Weinstein's in the hospital. You said that Harvey Weinstein's in jail right now. They took him straight to jail. No, they didn't. They took him straight to a hospital bed. But the thing is, we are intellectually honest here. And intellectual honesty calls for the fact that when Bill Cosby had those charges thrown at him, he wasn't able to duck or dodge anything. Harvey Weinstein, it was a nail biter all the way down to the last moment. You didn't know what the hell was going to happen. With Bill Cosby, it was a matter of, shoot, they're going to get him on something. And they did. They threw the freaking book at him. Harvey Weinstein and his defense team, they're already scheming how they're going to get him off on appeal. You see, when Cosby got convicted, that was April 2018 when Cosby got convicted. And you can't file your appeal until after you get sentenced. That's the reason why the judge said, we ain't going to sentence your black behind until September. 5 months later. So what that means is, in the Cosby case, the judge essentially artificially inflated Cosby's sentence behind bars by 5 months, almost half a year. Just arbitrarily inflated it by deciding, I'm not going to sentence this nigger for almost half a year. That way, at the very least, he can't file an appeal anytime soon. He's going to do at least 6 months in stir, no matter what his appeal may come out to. Weinstein, on the other hand, they're fast-tracking him. He's going to get sentenced on the 11th. And as soon as he gets sentenced, his slimy lawyers are going to be filing their appeal. This case was a slam dunk. He was the most indictable, the most convictable, if I may make up a couple of words. It should have been child's play to get that guy on 1st-degree rape. And if nothing else, to get him on predatory sexual assault, which is practically the same thing. But of course, those sentences would have included life in prison. It should have been easy to get him on that. That should have been a no-brainer. Harvey Weinstein right now should be sitting in a cage, contemplating, staring down the barrel of the rest of his unnatural born existence inside of 4 walls. And the only deals he'll be making is how many sexual favors he'll be trading just to get some cigarettes. That's what his existence should consist of at this point. We shouldn't be sitting here with people trying to give themselves a consolation prize of, well, they did get him on third-degree rape, and well, if the DA plays their cards right, maybe the judge might actually make him serve the sentence. People are trying to make themselves feel good about the fact that this guy got away with what we all know to be first-degree rape, and the damn predatory sexual assault, that is definitely what he's most guilty of. People are trying to make themselves feel better about the fact that he got away with the heavy stuff. In what universe are we supposed to be making excuses for the fact that the bastard didn't get what he deserved? Now, why is it that Harvey Weinstein, at the very least, why in this instance was there at least a partial conviction? Why did he get convicted of the lowest charges at the very least? He didn't get the heavy stuff. He was a slippery eel, and that didn't happen to him. So the people who were saying, oh, he's going to spend the rest of his life behind bars, not even. But the couple of smaller charges that they did decide to put on him, why did that happen? Well, I can tell you why it didn't happen. It didn't happen because of organizations like Time's Up. It didn't happen because of Me Too. Why, we all recall how the so-called founder of Me Too, KRS-Two, she was telling everybody it's not her job to go after white men. When people were saying, hey, how come you ain't talking about Harvey Weinstein? You're always trying to trash black men, but you don't say a word about Harvey Weinstein. Why is that? Why do you think it's my job to go after white men? So KRS-Two, she was staying out of it as far as Weinstein went. Now, she's not going on a crusade against Weinstein. Oh, except until today. Now that the white media is asking KRS-Two about the Weinstein verdict, instead of her saying, hey, I'm trying to protect black women and girls, all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, this was all me. Oh, so KRS-Two does have the ability to speak on the Weinstein case because she's been pretty mum on it up until now. She's been telling black people, why do you think it's my job to go after white men? But as soon as there is an incidental conviction of Harvey Weinstein, then here comes KRS-Two saying, I've got something to say and you should listen to me. She didn't do a damn thing to bring this about. She was staying in the back, way in the back, telling black folks it ain't her job to go after white men, but as soon as she sees what she thinks to be a camera opportunity, here she goes. So Me Too had nothing to do with this. They had absolutely nothing to do with this, but they are a white media invention, so it's expedient to go ahead and let them be part of the circus. But what's not happening is nobody is asking how in God's name did such an unnecessarily complicated case get brought up when you knew damn well that the way that you structured it was going to set the odds against Weinstein doing hard time. The white media is not outraged at the fact that Weinstein didn't get hit with the heaviest charges when those were the most substantiated charges against him. The white media was not at all disgusted that you had an actress, Annabella Sciorra, who took to the stand and she was acting as a Molyneux witness, saying that Harvey Weinstein had sexually assaulted her, and apparently the jury looked and went, meh. That didn't seem to carry much weight. Didn't seem to matter much to them at all. No, it's not that I'm jaded, it's that I know better than to put my faith into the institutions of white supremacy. Because you see, what happened was, it took millions of people protesting just to get Harvey Weinstein charged, and hopefully that's supposed to mean something, but the thing is, it didn't take millions of people to get Bill Cosby charged. It just took one politician who wanted to have a black man's head on his trophy wall. And Bill Cosby, they didn't give a damn what his medical condition was when he got convicted. They were like, get in the back in this paddy wagon, nigger. Oh, don't worry. There's a prison infirmary where you're going. That's where you can get your medical care. They didn't say, oh, let's take this guy to the hospital. Even though, no, if he needs any medical care, they got an infirmary at the prison that he's going to. Yeah, a couple of aspirin is about, but basically that's all the medical care they can offer, but that's all he needs. So we know who is not responsible for the verdict today. the individuals who are trying to take credit for it. But who is? Well, for the last 2 years, every time somebody's tried to divert and distract from Weinstein, you have the black media banging the drum to keep people's minds right on track. Why, it was Snoop Dogg himself when he briefly called out Gail Skank, the name he mentioned. What about Weinstein? Why ain't you saying nothing about Weinstein? 50 Cent on his Instagram, I believe that when he talked about when he was chattering at Oprah, why is it you're not saying anything about Weinstein? That was the black grassroots who made sure that that was something that these guys and their circle would hear. That you don't just sit there and sit on your hands while you got Gail Skank and Orca Winfrey helping to orchestrate an anti-black lynch mob, the 21st century lynch mobs against black men, and you just sit on your hands and not say anything about it. It's a matter of, no, if they're going to sit here trying to find a way to popularize the slandering, defaming of black men to attack us by proxy so that you can set up a hypercharged conveyor belt supposed to be sending black men to prison so we can keep our attention off of the rape-happy white supremacists. Nah, you make sure you put a name on it. That came from the black grassroots. It damn sure didn't come from Me Too. Damn sure didn't come from Tarana Burke. Damn sure didn't come from Time's Up. Every time you looked up, the mouthpieces for Time Up were talking about Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. Bill Cosby's already in prison. That's okay. We'll talk about him some more. They were talking about Michael Jackson. They were not talking about Weinstein. When I look at this Weinstein partial verdict, when I look at this partial conviction, it reminds me of the other cases where even when you have these white supremacist cops who actually do get successfully prosecuted for murdering a black person, notice how the charge is always 5 years or less. Look what happened to Jason Van Dyke, who murdered Laquan McDonald. He was sentenced to 81 months, but we all know he ain't doing anywhere near that much. Amber Guyger's, she was supposed to be getting 10 years, but most likely she'll be serving 5. And I pointed out how that seems to be the maximum sentence under white supremacy. If you happen to be a white person, well, on average, you're going to get about 5 years. So the third-degree rape, they could have just left it at that. And it's a matter of, just like Johann Messerly, who murdered Oscar Grant, that bastard did less than a year. The judge decided, well, I'm going to throw out most of the verdict. Weinstein's conviction, to the extent that he may be punished, is largely to the credit of the people at the grassroots who were speaking out against him, not whatever white media promoted organizations are now attempting to take any sort of credit for it. It's kind of like in Chicago. Why is it that Jason Van Dyke sits in prison tonight? It's because you had the grassroots who made it known that Anita Alvarez was going to answer to them for not having done something about the bastard. And then she decided that she would try to do a quickie indictment and say, see, I'm going to save myself. And they said, nah, too late. Wasn't fast enough. And they voted her out of office. The Weinstein matter simply wasn't going to go away, just like the Jason Van Dyke murder of Laquan McDonald wasn't going away. And the more the people like Gail Skank and Time's Up attempted to distract people with Cosby and Michael Jackson and R. Kelly, the more people started saying, what about Weinstein? How come nobody's talking about Weinstein? Tarana Burke, I'm going to rubber stamp the railroading of these black men. Why don't you say something about Weinstein? You think it's my job to go after white men? Yeah, but today she's more than happy to get some white media attention, calling herself talking tough about a white man who she told black folks it wasn't her job to go after him a couple of years ago. Now she's telling a completely different tune. But nobody is excoriating the jury for acquitting Weinstein of the most provable, most substantiated, and the most damaging and severe of the charges. The white media is not doing what they did with the OJ jury. They're not saying, oh, the jury's so stupid. The jury's so stupid. How could they be so stupid? Why, you had Annabella Sciorra pouring her heart out. Surely she was sympathetic and believable, but the jury didn't think very much of her testimony. How could they be so stupid? See, they weren't giving the Weinstein jury the OJ jury treatment. Nobody's saying that, well, there were 5 white males on that jury. What do we know about their backgrounds? Perhaps they have some sort of sexual assault complaints against them, some sort of sexual harassment complaints against them. How the world could they take the most severe and the most well substantiated of the charges against Weinstein and decide, well, these are the ones that we're not going to convict him of? They went to the mat, damn near had a hung jury because they were determined, well, we're not going to hit him with the hardest charges. He's going to get the light ones. 3rd-degree rape. Why not accuse him of 2nd-degree heavy petting? I know that's kind of a term that dates me a little bit. But, why not unsanctioned hanky-panky? That might as well be what they charged him with the 3rd-degree rape thing. And while I'm certainly not going to cheerlead against the verdict, Weinstein's a scumbag of the first order and definitely deserves every day that he's not going to serve in prison. But the truth of the matter happens to be, I know the system of white supremacy, they did not want to see this man getting anything near the max, and he didn't get anything near the max. He's not in jail tonight, he's in a hospital. And even after they finally, if they ever do get around to formally checking him into his padded lodging at Rikers or wherever the hell they're going to be sending this guy to, the truth of the matter happens to be, we already, the same way that we've been looking and going, man, there's just too many question marks about whether or not this guy's going to be charged. If so, with what? Whether or not the DA's actually going to be trying to convict him. Have they deliberately selected a jury that's going to be predisposed to be sympathetic to him? Are you going to have some judge who decides to do what happened in the case of Johann Messerly and say, well, you know what? These women, they weren't very believable and the jury came back with the wrong verdict. And since you guys didn't come back with the verdict I wanted, there's just too many variables that didn't exist in the Cosby case. Nobody was saying that, what happens if Cosby gets convicted? You think the judge is going to throw out the charges? You think the judge is going to reduce the sentence? Nobody had that about Cosby. Everybody knew that, hell, he better pray to God that jury comes back with an acquittal, because if they don't, he's getting the max. Whatever the sentence is, he's not getting any time served. There's not going to be any of that. Judge, there's absolutely no risk that the judge is going to reduce the sentence or throw the charges out or tell the jury you got it wrong. That ain't going to happen, and it didn't. They did everything that they could to try to make it where even before the sentence was handed down, it's a matter of, we're going to have you just sitting in a prison cell for damn near half a year just to hear the freaking sentence. Yeah, you're already guilty, but we're going to make sure you spend some extra time there. Weinstein, no, we got to expedite his case. Wouldn't want him to be spending too long staring at walls. From the day that the Weinstein scandal broke back in 2017, all the way up to the present, how differently he's been treated. See, with Cosby, it's a matter of, we got to take the Cosby Show off of television. It won't be offered on back catalogs anymore, and we're removing it from reruns, and anything that has Cosby's name on it has to be scoured from all memory and existence. Well, we're also going to purge Miramax and the Weinstein Company's entire movie catalog too, right? Well, some of those movies were pretty good, See, they're not trying to scour and scourge the Weinstein presence from all sectors. It's just a matter of, well, Weinstein wasn't the one starring in those movies, Yeah, but he still does have his name on it. And that being the case, every time you buy anything with his name on it, you better believe somehow, some way, he and his idiot brother are getting something out of it. I know that there are a lot of people who are intellectually lazy and who are morally deficient. So what they want to believe is that white supremacy is somehow going to discover morality, and that they believe that white supremacy has some inherent sense of fair play. So they're always waiting for white supremacy to turn the other cheek or to do a good turn. And I'm looking and going, how can people be so simple-minded? Richard Nixon's entire administration was dirty. Even his attorney general, John Mitchell, became the first attorney general in U.S. history to ever do time. Most of Nixon's closest advisors wound up going to prison. His chief of staff, H.R. Haldeman, his special advisor, John Ehrlichman, John Dean, the White House counsel, Chuck Colson, who was another member of the administration, just a whole bunch of Nixon. He barely managed to escape prison himself. And yet, even after that, you got people who thought, oh, the worm has turned and things are different. It's like that didn't mean a damn thing. And by the way, you had the church committee hearings afterwards. What did that change? But I want people to understand this is part of the reason why we have such a difficult time being able to trust certain numbers of black people, especially these anonymous people online, these people with these empty blank profiles. Many of them trolls, many of them lurkers, many of them who try to disrupt our operations here. These individuals who are only too glad to cheerlead for the system, but at the same time, they're not going to do a dang thing to help black empowerment. That's what we see going on here today. You got individuals who basically want you to believe in a system that you don't control, that you don't orchestrate, and that does everything it can to run you into the ground. They have what in this case happens to be a astonishing exception to the rule. Even they have to admit it. None of them were saying just a few hours ago, none of them were saying, no, absolutely. Weinstein is going to be getting the max. They didn't say that. Their consolation prize is, they did convict him of the lowest charges, the least of the charges. Okay, they didn't hit him with the heavy stuff, but they did get him on the least of the charges. Okay, so how many years do you think he's going to do in prison? He's going to be doing some years. Well, come on, that's a little bit vague. Can you put a number on it for me? Well, it'll be more than a little and less than a lot. And that's basically their mentality about it. No wonder white supremacy runs rings around certain individuals. This is the same crowd who you'll see bombing into a comment section talking about vote for Bernie Sanders, vote for Joe Biden, vote for Andrew Yang, vote for Elizabeth Warren, etc. So you'll have to forgive me if my heart doesn't go pitter-pat for this. Most of the charges that he got hit with, the ones that were the most substantiated, were also the ones that the jury said he's innocent of. Imagine that, the word innocent being used in the same sentence as Harvey Weinstein. Imagine that. But one thing's for sure, Weinstein is not going to be the face of sexual predation. They're not going to allow this to stick for very long. They're going to make sure to continue their anti-black jihad, that every time you mention Weinstein, you better make sure you mention Cosby too. Make sure you mention Cosby too. And also mention R. Kelly. R. Kelly's still out there, And there are others as well. Why? There's all sorts of sexual harassment. Tavis Smiley, haven't you heard? That's what's going to be happening here. Weinstein is not going to be allowed to simply be the face of sexual predation. That's not going to stop. No matter what the world happens. Hell, if by some unholy miracle the judge actually decides, you know what? This Weinstein bastard gets the max. I'm giving him 25 years. I'm going to sentence him 25 years without the possibility of parole. The white media is not going to be looking and going, man, we need to do some documentaries about this. Harvey Weinstein, the most notorious sexual predator of the 21st century. They won't be saying that. Instead, what they're going to be saying is, okay, let's move along right about, hey, there's that case against R. Kelly. That's what it's going to be. Same thing that they were doing before. The exact same thing that they were doing before all this. Let's make sure that we put a black face in front of the public. White supremacy doesn't believe in taking any L's. So if a Weinstein goes down, they got to make sure that there's a black face who goes down right beside him so that we can continue the lie of this false equivalence. My heart doesn't go pitter-pat for any of this at all because I understand what the hell it is that I'm up against. I do not expect the best from my oppressor. I expect the worst because that's what he has consistently shown me. That's not being jaded, that's pattern recognition. And for those of you who apparently are very easily impressed, who are going, well, he didn't get hit with the heaviest charges. He ducked and dodged the stuff that was actually the most well substantiated, and they hit him instead with basically second-degree hanky-panky. That's something though, isn't it? I mean, that is kind of a victory, isn't it? Well, in the immortal words of Dr. John Henrik Clarke, oh yeah, it's a victory, all right. But a victory for whom and for what?